हं, हं. हं, हं. नाही म्हटलं तर अमोलीन बोलले तुझा भाऊ नाही
Good evening, everyone. I hope my voice is audible and screen are visible to you. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. So today we are going to discuss one new concept, that's synchronization and desynchronization. And after that, we are switched to a main concept, that's the multi-threading. For that purpose, I'm going to create one class. So, okay. So today we are going to discuss one new concept, that's a serialization and deserialization. And after that, we are going to discuss multi-threading from Java. So to demonstrate how we can serialize data and how we can deserialize data, for that purpose, I'm going to create one class. And that class is that's a class name. We require public static void main. Okay. So here we are going to discuss what means a serialization and what means a deserialization. So a serialization and deserialization in a Java, it is a process. That means first we are discuss a serialization. So serialization is the process of converting an object into byte stream, which can then be stored or transfer over a network. For example, uh, communicate with a database to get a data from a database or store a data within a database. We required to make a data serialization, that's converting object into byte stream to transfer over a network. After that, there are next concept is a deserialization. What means a deserialization? The deserialization is the reverse process of serialization, where the byte stream is converted back into object. So now you understand what means a serialization, what means a deserialization. But what's the purpose of that serialization? The purpose of serialization is a saving object state to a file or database, sending objects over a network, and catching objects for later use. So the serialization are convert object into byte stream, store the byte stream in a file or transmit over a network. It's a required java.io serializable interface. And for deserialization process means what? Read the byte stream from a storage or network, convert it back to an object. It's required the original class definition to reconstruct the object. So let's see how we can create a serializable. So to create a serialization, I just create one new class. Here I'm going to create a new class. That class class name is a person. So that person, we require to make that class. That means we need required to make a serialization, right? So that's why I'm going to create or implement that class with a serializable. Implements, it's a serializable. So serializable is the interface and it's a holding. by java.io package. Once we are implement that things, after that within a class, within a person class, I just write private member. That's a person name. So it's a string type. That's a person name. We tell it's a name. Okay. After that, we required one another a field that is a private. It's a type of integer, and we say it's a age. So we have two fields. That means two variable within our person class. That's a name and age. Now it's a concrete class. So I'm going to create constructor. I'm going to create a constructor here. So here I'm created constructor. To initialize object, I create a constructor. After that, to display those values from object, I require one display method. That's a person name. That's a person age. So that's a simple, a concrete class. That concrete class holding one constructor, two fields, and one method. And that concrete class implements serializable interface. So that person are end here. So that's a simple class. Now, let's see how we can use a serialize an object. Okay. So let's see how we can serialize the object. So within our serialize deserialize class, I'm going to create one method. Method name is a serialize object. Here for that method, I'm pass person object, person instance, and second one. Here we are going to store the person object values within a file. So that's why we require to serialize and deserialize that object. So first thing we are right for serialize object. So we can transfer that object into file. So person, and second one is a file name we required. So string file name. Okay. So we have two attributes for our method. One is object and second one is a file name. And we need to convert that object into byte string to store into file. So that's why I use a try with resource block. Here I use one string that what we are doing. We are inserting data into file, right? So that's why I'm use a file output string. File output string. Its name is file out equal to new. The constructor of file output string. And here we require to set file name. Okay, so that's our first object we are created from input output stream. That's a byte stream. Its a name is a file out. After that, once we are create that stream, once we are create that object, now we need to convert that object into a byte stream. So that's why I'm going to create one another object. So here I'm going to create one another object. That object from class object output stream. So object output stream, its name is obj out equal to new. It's object output stream, and that constructor holding one object, that object from file out. Then look here what I write. We have one object, that object name is a person, right? We require to convert that person object into stream, and with that things we need to perform write operation. We need to perform write operation. To perform write operation with a stream, we require two objects here. The first one is a file output stream. That file output stream is holding the file where we are store that stream data. After that, second object we required, that second object actually perform that operation. That means to write object into file. That operation are performed by second object. That object name is obj out. So here we are performing serialization for object person. That's a save into file. So after that curly bracket open and close. Within that curly bracket, okay, we can write a catch. Done. So here we are performing to writing object into file. Write object. Write object. And what's the object we need to write? Person. Is we create person. That instance we are going to write here within our file. And after that, let's acknowledge to user that what we are write, serialization successful. What's our file name? It's a file name. So okay. So simple thing I'm right there to serialize the data. To serialize data, we have one class. That class is implement serializable. Once we write that class, then these class are able to transfer data over network. That means, so here we are going to save our data within our file. And for that purpose, we are use a serialize object. And which object we need to serialize? Person object we need to serialize. So that's why I create one object. That object is a file from file output stream. The purpose of that object to get a file, for writing purpose. After that, whatever object I need to store, that I need to convert that object into a byte stream. To convert that object into byte stream, I required one second object. That object from a object output stream class. That object output stream class constructor holding the file out object. So we are going to writing a file using a stream. So here object out dot write object method writing the object into file. Writing object into file. But file doesn't aware about what is the object. It's only write as a byte stream, right? So here we are writing a byte within our file. We are writing a byte within our file. Once we are write that things, we need to acknowledge user. Okay, that's a serialization successful. And object, whatever object we are converted, that store within a file name, that file name. Once we are completed serialization, now we need to deserialize these things. So for deserialization, I'm going to create one another method. That method also public static void. It's not okay. We are deserializing, right? So it's a return object. It's a return object. Here I am right. We are going to deserialize object from file, because that object we are stored within a file. So that file name we can get from here. We are going to deserialize our object. Okay. So here again, I need two object. One is holding file, and second one is performing the option over object, that converting value from a byte stream into object. So that's why I use same scenario. So that structure I copy, paste here, and if here instead file output stream, what I require, file input stream. So file input stream I required. It's a holding file name. And after that, we have object output. Now we not required output. We required input. That means from outer side, we are getting input to convert a value into object. So it's a object input. So object input stream. Okay. So that's object input stream. Please mute yourself. Okay. So okay. Okay, we are create a second thing for deserialization. Once we are create two objects, we required to store a data, right? So we required an object from person. That object name is a person. and that object holding a data. That data we are getting from object. It's not out, it's a file, and it's objective. So from objective, we are going to get data dot read object. So read object is method that return object, and that method are actually read the byte stream and convert that byte stream into object. And here we need to return deserialization. Deserialization successful. Get object from file. And here we need to return that object. Return person. Class not found exception. File not found exception. File we are saved within our current directory, so that's not required. That's an unreachable code. Okay. So within our main, I need to create one file name. So which file I need to get? Okay, we can get a file demo.txt. So showing System Explorer. That file we required with that path. Paste here. What's the file name? File demo.txt. Okay, let's open that file. Okay, it's empty. It's empty. Okay, so here to execute our program, I create one string that's holding absolute path of our file. Once I create that string, after that I need to create object for a person class. So it's a P1. I say it's a P1. That's equal to new, the constructor, and that constructor holding the name and age. So once I create an object, now I want to serialize that object. And for that serialize that object, I need to call one method. That method I need to call using the class name because it's a static method. So here serialize dot serialize object. That's a object name is a p1 and that's with that store within that file. Okay, so let's execute. We are not called deserialize right now. We are just called serialize object. Okay, so object are serialized and it's a store within our file. Let's check file. Look here. What's the file are store? File are store a stream, byte stream. File are store a byte stream. That means it's not proper data. It's a byte stream data. Now that byte stream data, to understand a byte stream data, we need to convert it. So that's why I'm going to create invoke one another method using serializable deserializable class. That method is a deserialize and it's using that current file name which we are right here, and that things we need to store within one new object. That's a person. So it's a p2, and now that p2 data we need to display. Okay, so let's execute. Before that, let's check why it's showing error. It's a file out. Okay, it's a filing. Okay, and here done. Now we are serialize our data. Now let's deserialize it. So comment first one, comment second one, and let's execute. So we are deserialize our data. That person name and person age are displayed here. We are deserialize data from our file demo.txt file. Okay, let's summarize those all things. So I prefer your chat first. Okay, first I'm explaining English, then I can translate it in Marathi. Don't worry. So I go through message. First one from, what's your name? Sukanya. Okay, what is the purpose of serializable? The serializable purpose is what? Suppose we need to transfer a data, but that data we need to transfer to a remote site. So when that data we need to transfer, but we are writing program with object oriented paradigm. So it is required to transfer a data in a meaningful way. So the serializable interface in Java is used to enable an object to convert into byte stream so that the object can be saved to a file or database. That object will be sent over a network. It's uh, store in memory and later restore. That means deserialize. For that all purpose, we require serializable interface to enable object to convert into byte stream. And of course, for deserializable also. So the purpose of serializable interface is what? Object persistence. That means save the object straight to a file or database and retrieve it later. It send objects over sockets in distributed application like RMI or web services. It store objects in serialized form in caches like Redis and EH cache. It is useful for JVM memory optimization. That means serialize objects in one JVM and transfer them to another JVM for processing. So serialize method does not have any, that means serialize interface does not have any method. It just tell the JVM that the class can be serialized. And to deserialize, the class must also implement serializable. So that's the purpose of serialize interface within a Java. So Sukanya, I hope it is clear. After that, yes, it is possible you can use another stream class for Sushant. Next one. Sushant, if I'm display that things, it's a repetitive task. So you can perform by yourself. Just you need to change class names there with the same methods. Okay, next question is what? Okay, I'm going to explain code again. Okay, so same thing I'm going to repeat. First, we discuss what is the serialization. Serialization is the process of converting an object into byte stream, which can then be stored within a file or database or transfer over a network. And what is the deserialization? Deserialization is a reverse process of serialization, where the byte stream is converted back into object. Nowadays these process done by framework implicitly. But if you are not use any framework, then we need to identify that things how we can serialize object and deserialize object. The purpose of serialization is what? To saving object state to a file or database, sending object over a network, and catching objects for later use. So we are right here. First, one class. That class is a person class. That person class, it's a simple concrete class. But that class we are used to send the data outer side. That means that data we are going to send. So this class implements serializable. That means what? We can send a data over a network using that class. We can retrieve a data from a network using that class. So here that class holding only two fields, that is a name and age. it's initialized with constructor, and after that I'm going to display that name and age using a display method. So that's a simple class. Once we are write this class, now I want to store that person object which I'm going to create. That person object I want to store within a file. Hmm? So file is not our program resource, it's an external resource. So that's why I simply create one method to store object into file. Hmm? But how it is possible to store object within a file? That object will be stored within a file using byte stream. So that's why we need to convert that object into byte stream first. And those byte stream we are going to store within our file. So here I'm create one method, that's method name is serialize object. That method holding one instance from person, and this method holding as a parameter file name, that's a string type. After that, to perform that operation to store a object into file, I use a try with resource because I don't want to close connection every time. So within that try with resource, I create one object from file output stream. Because why it's required? It's required because I'm going to write a file. And to write a file, I required one byte stream here. Of course, you can use any other byte stream classes. It's your choice. Here, I'm use a file output stream because every time I'm going to show you the different classes. At beginning time, we are learn buffer reader, file input, file output reader. So to perform operation on a file, we have one a class. That class is a file output stream class, and create object. That file output stream class constructor holding a file. It's holding file name. After that, whatever things we are writing within a file, that things we need to convert first. Convert into what? Convert into byte stream. So to convert that data, that object into byte stream, we required one another object. That object from object output stream. That's a mandatory to conversion. So that object output stream class holding one object. That object name is a file out. And now using object out, we are going to write object. Which object we are going to write? Person object. And that person object we are going to write within a file using serialization process. And that object save into file in a form byte stream. In a form byte stream. After that, that byte stream is not in human readable form. It will be displayed like that, or it will be displayed with another thing if we are use a different JVM. But we required to read that data within our program. So to retrieve that serialized data, we are going to create, we are created here one another method. That's the name is a deserialize object. That method return one object. That's a person. It's as a parameter, it's getting one file. That's a string type. So within try with resource block, I create one object using file input stream, because now we are not going to write, we are going to read it. And for read it, we are use file input stream. So file input stream actually read that content from file. After that, we need to convert that content into what? Object. So that's why we required one another object. That object belong from class object input stream. And that's the constructor of object input stream. It's holding file in object. So we are going to convert whatever things that's holding by file in. Now, let's start conversion. To start conversion, we need to one object. That object or hold that conversion data, converted data. So that's why I create a person object. That person object are store that data which is written by object input stream dot read object method. So here using that things we are converting a byte stream into object here. Byte stream into object here, and after that I just make a serialization using calling that serialize object method and deserialize it using deserialize object method. So I hope everyone are understand these things. So let's convert it into Marathi. Okay, so is any question there regarding serialization, deserialization before I make it convert into Marathi? Okay, you can ask later then. Okay, तर आपण काय बघतोय सिरियलायझेशन आणि डिसिरियलायझेशन. याची गरज काय? हे बघा आता सध्या हे काम जर तुम्ही फ्रेमवर्क वापरत असाल, तर फ्रेमवर्क आपल्यासाठी ऑटोमॅटिकली करतं. यासाठी आपल्याला कुठलाही कोड लिहायची गरज नाहीये. पण जर तुम्ही कुठलाही फ्रेमवर्क वापरत नसाल, तर तुम्हाला स्वतः डिसिरियलाइज आणि डिसिरियलाइज करावं लागतं. मग सिरियलाइज म्हणजे काय? की आपण जे प्रोग्राम करतोय तो ऑब्जेक्ट ओरिएंटेड प्रोग्राम. म्हणजे काय आपल्याकडे फक्त ऑब्जेक्ट्स आहेत. आणि हे ऑब्जेक्ट जर तुम्हाला कुठे स्टोअर करायचे असतील, कुठल्या दुसऱ्या लोकेशन, रिमोट लोकेशनला किंवा डेटाबेसमध्ये, तर तुम्हाला हा डेटा नेताना नेटवर्कमधून सिरियलाइज करून न्यावा लागतो. म्हणजे बाईट स्ट्रीममध्ये कन्व्हर्ट करून न्यावा लागतो. मग या प्रोसेसला म्हटलं जातं सिरियलायझेशन. आणि डिसिरियलायझेशन म्हणजे काय? की जो बाईट स्ट्रीममध्ये कन्व्हर्टेड डेटा आहे, तो परत आपल्या प्रोग्राममध्ये रिट्राईव्ह करण्यासाठी आपल्याला परत त्याचं रिव्हर्ट करावं लागतं. म्हणजे सिरियलाइज डेटाला परत डिसिरियलाइज करावं लागतं. म्हणजे परत एकदा त्या बाईट स्ट्रीमचं रूपांतर कशामध्ये करावं लागतं? ऑब्जेक्टमध्ये. आणि याला म्हटलं जातं डिसिरियलायझेशन. हे उपयोगी केव्हा पडतं? जेव्हा आपण अदर रिसोर्सेसशी कम्युनिकेट करत असू आपल्या प्रोग्राम थ्रू. मग हे अदर रिसोर्सेस असतील, डेटाबेस असेल किंवा फाईल असेल. किंवा हे उपयोगी केव्हा पडतं? जेव्हा आपण एका लोकेशनपासून दुसऱ्या लोकेशनला डेटा सेंड करतोय. नेटवर्कमध्ये डेटा आपला ट्रॅव्हर्स होतं. तेव्हा हा डेटा लॉस होऊ नये याच्यासाठी आपण त्याचं कन्व्हर्जन करतोय बाईट स्ट्रीममध्ये. तर इथे आपण कशा पद्धतीने वापरलं सिरियलायझेशन? तर सगळ्यात आधी मी एक क्लास तयार केला. त्या क्लासचं नाव दिलं पर्सन आणि तो क्लास इम्प्लिमेंट केला सिरियलायझेबल या इंटरफेस. मग याचा उपयोग काय झाला? की JVMला कळालं की पर्सन हा जो क्लास आहे, याचा जो कुठला ऑब्जेक्ट असेल, तो मला सिरियलाइज करायचा आहे आणि डिसिरियलाइज करायचा आहे. जेव्हा हा ऑब्जेक्ट नेटवर्कमध्ये किंवा इतर आउटर साइड रिसोर्सेसकडे ट्रॅव्हर्स करेल. मग हे JVMला कळालं. मग ह्याच्यासाठी आम्ही काय लिहिलं? इम्प्लिमेंट्स सिरियलायझेबल. हां. याच्यानंतर या या क्लासमध्ये एक कन्स्ट्रक्टर तयार केला, जो इनिशियलाइज करतो इन्स्टन्स व्हेरिएबल आणि एक डिस्प्ले मेथड लिहिली, जी मेथड डिस्प्ले करते त्या इन्स्टन्स व्हेरिएबलच्या व्हॅल्यूज. त्याच्यानंतर आता मला सिरियलाइज करायचा ऑब्जेक्ट. आता हा ऑब्जेक्ट सिरियलाइज कसा करतात? तर मी आता सिंपल एक मेथड लिहिली सिरियलाइज ऑब्जेक्ट. त्या मेथडमध्ये एक इन्स्टन्स पास केला पर्सनचा आणि हा इन्स्टन्स बाईट स्ट्रीममध्ये मला कुठे स्टोअर करायचा आहे? तर फाईलमध्ये मला स्टोअर करायचं आहे. त्यासाठी सेकंड पॅरामीटर मी फाईल नेम घेतलं. याच्यानंतर आता जो डेटा मी ट्रान्सफर करतोय तो बाईट आहे. जो डेटा मी ट्रान्सफर करतोय फाईलमध्ये तो बाईट स्ट्रीम आहे. मग त्यासाठी मी एक क्लास वापरला फाईल आउटपुट स्ट्रीम. का? कारण मला डेटा स्टोअर करायचा आहे फाईलमध्ये. त्याचा ऑब्जेक्ट तयार केला फाईल आउट आणि इथे मी कन्स्ट्रक्टरमध्ये फाईल आउट स्ट्रीमच्या कन्स्ट्रक्टरमध्ये फाईलचं नाव लिहिलं, की त्या फाईलमध्ये मला डेटा राइट करायचा आहे. पण आता सिम्पल रायटिंग नाहीये हा डेटा. हा डेटा कुठला आहे? ऑब्जेक्ट डेटा. आणि जर ऑब्जेक्ट डेटा असेल तर मला कन्व्हर्जन कशामध्ये करावं लागेल? बाईट स्ट्रीम मध्ये कन्व्हर्जन करावं लागेल. मग बाईट स्ट्रीम मध्ये या ऑब्जेक्टला कन्व्हर्ट करण्यासाठी मी अजून एक क्लास वापरला, ऑब्जेक्ट आउटपुट स्ट्रीम. त्याचा ऑब्जेक्ट बनवला ओबीजे आउट आणि ऑब्जेक्ट आउटपुट स्ट्रीमच्या कन्स्ट्रक्टर मध्ये एक पॅरामीटर पास केला, आर्ग्युमेंट पास केला, फाइल आउट. म्हणजे आता फाइल आउट मध्ये जे काही असेल ते मी कन्व्हर्ट करू शकतो. मग यानंतर ऑब्जेक्ट आउट या ऑब्जेक्टनी मी एक मेथड कॉल केली. ती मेथड काय करते? तर ऍक्च्युअल कन्व्हर्जनचं काम करते. मेथडचं नाव आहे राईट ऑब्जेक्ट. काय कन्व्हर्जन करते ती? तर ऑब्जेक्टला कन्व्हर्ट करते बाईट स्ट्रीम मध्ये आणि त्यानंतर फाइल आउटपुट स्ट्रीम तो स्टोअर करतं पर्टिक्युलर फाईलमध्ये. तर याप्रमाणे आपण इथे कन्व्हर्जन केलं ऑब्जेक्ट टू बाईट स्ट्रीम आणि त्यानंतर युजरला एक अॅक्नॉलेजमेंट मेसेज दिलं की बाबा हा ऑब्जेक्ट तुमच्या फाईलमध्ये स्टोअर आहे. आता हा ऑब्जेक्ट स्टोअर झाल्यानंतर तो कुठल्या पद्धतीने स्टोअर असतो? हे अशा काहीतरी पद्धतीने स्टोअर असतो. कारण ही बाईट स्ट्रीम आहे. मग इथे मी स्ट्रिंग घेतल्यामुळे तुम्हाला हे नाव कळतंय. पण नंबर्स असतील तर अजिबात ते कळणार नाही. मग आता हा डेटा रिट्राईव्ह करायचा आहे. मग आता हा डेटा तर रीडेबल फॉर्ममध्ये नाहीये, कारण ह्युमन रीडेबलमध्ये आपल्याला व्यवस्थित डेटा लागतो, फॉर्मॅटेड. मग आता तो डेटा परत आपल्याला ऑब्जेक्टमध्ये कन्व्हर्ट करायचा. मग याच्यासाठी मी मेथड तयार केली, डिसिरियलाइज ऑब्जेक्ट. मेथडमध्ये फाईल नेम घेतलं, म्हणजे कुठल्या फाईलमधून आपल्याला डेटा रिट्राईव्ह करायचा. त्यानंतर त्या फाईलचं ऑपरेशन परफॉर्म करण्यासाठी फाईल इनपुट म्हणजे फाईल रीड करण्यासाठी फाईल इनपुट स्ट्रीम हे क्लास वापरला. त्यानंतर त्या फाईलचा जो डेटा आहे तो मला कशामध्ये कन्व्हर्ट करायचा आहे? ऑब्जेक्टमध्ये. मग त्यासाठी मला अजून एका क्लासची गरज आहे, ऑब्जेक्ट इनपुट स्ट्रीम. आणि त्यानंतर ऑब्जेक्ट इनपुट स्ट्रीमचा ऑब्जेक्ट वापरून मी एक मेथड कॉल केली, रीड ऑब्जेक्ट. मग ही मेथड काय करते? की जे काही डेटा आहे तो डेटा रीड करतो, स्ट्रीम डेटा, बाईट स्ट्रीम डेटा आणि कन्व्हर्ट करतो ऑब्जेक्टमध्ये ऍक्च्युअली. मग त्यामुळे आपल्याला इथे डेटा मिळाला पर्सनमध्ये आणि तो डेटा आपण प्रिंट केला. इथे बाहेर मेनमध्ये आपण प्रिंट केला p2.display या मेथड. So I'm going to share that code with you. Control S. Control copy. Paste here. Let's review that code. Still, if you have any question, you can ask. Everyone understand what is the purpose of serialization and deserialization? How we can create manually serialization and deserialization? Nowadays we are use of frameworks, so no one can implement that directly, because framework are doing that task for us automatically. But if there are chance you are writing code with only core Java, then these things are required for you to better understand how we can, what is the serialization and how we can perform that operation, serialization and deserialization. Yes, did you check that code on your side? If you want to close every time that external resources, then you can use only normal try and catch. I don't want to write that 2 lines, that's object.close. So I can write that within try with resources. So JVM can handle that things and close that outer resources for us implicitly. If we are create a publish static, uh, public static person, line number, Dheeraj, you're talking with what's the line number? Line number 22. Okay, that's a method. That method we are create with a static block. So it's allocate a memory whenever class are loaded into memory, or that method will be allocate a memory. So when we are use a static, we doesn't require to call method with object. So here we are use a serialize object and deserialize object method calling with a class only. No, not required to create an object. So that's the reason we are use a static here. And when you write any algorithms, so here we are write simple two algorithms to serialize and deserialize the things. When you write any algorithm, that's the recommended practice and approach. You can use a static. So when you are use a static, no need to create an object when you are calling that method. So that's the purpose. Is it clear, Dheeraj?
Sir, why we use person instead of void there?
It's a return type. We are returning object. It's a return type. We are returning object. If we are not use that person, if we are use a void, then here we need to display that things like so not required to return. So did you understand? That's a return type. Okay. Is any other question? Okay, we are going to switch on a new topic, that is a multi-threading. Sushant, check your code on your side. It's a line number 32 from your side. Because on my side, there are not have any things within line number 32. Check your code. What's you write within line number 32? Okay, we are moving. and create one new file for demonstrate multi-threading from Java. Sushant, post your code here, so I will help you. Okay, so that's Sushant's code. Okay, so that's the Sushant code. I just use that Sushant code here. Okay, so the first thing is first. When you write a person, it's a serializable. Okay, okay, okay. It's a close here. Okay, that's good. After that, when you write main, it's within a serializable. Okay. After that, why you use two packets, Sushant? You must be use that things only once. Let's remove that things and rerun your program. Maybe that problem will be solved. Is it done? Okay. So I'm going to remove. So we are going to discuss multi-threading. So before continue multi-threading, just I want to check that my voice is audible and screen are visible to you. Is my okay? Thank you. Thank you very much. So we are going to discuss multi-threading, right? So multi-threading is a concept of running multiple threads simultaneously. And what is the thread? Thread is a lightweight unit of a process that execute in multi-threading environment. A program can be divided into number of small processes. Each small process can be addressed as a single thread. That means a lightweight process. You can think of a lightweight process as a virtual CPU that executes code or system calls. And you usually do not need to concern yourself with lightweight process to a program with the threads. So multi-threaded programs contain two or more threads that can run concurrently, and each thread defines separate path of execution. This means that a single program can perform two or more tasks simultaneously. For example, one thread is writing content on a file. At the same time, another thread is performing spelling check. So what is the advantages of multi-threading? That means why we are using multi-threading. The multi-threading reduces CPU idle time that increase overall performance of the system. So thread is a lightweight process. Then it's a take less memory and perform content switching as will that help to share the memory and reduce time switching between threads. There are one another concept. That concept is a multitasking. What means a multitasking? It is a process of performing multiple tasks simultaneously. That means writing data to a file, playing music, downloading file from a remote server at the same time. So that's a multitasking. So these multitasking can be achieved either by using multiprocessing or multi-threading. And that's why multi-threading is important for us. So thread has many advantages over a process to perform multitasking. Process is heavyweight, takes more memory and occupies CPU for longer time. That may lead to performance issue with the system. To overcome this issue, process is broken into small unit of independent sub-process. These sub-process are called threads that can perform independent tasks efficiently. So nowadays computer system prefer to use the threads over the process and use a multi-threading to perform multitasking. So that's a thread. So how we can create a thread? Kaushik, I hope you are understand that things. Just I am sharing, told you that all things what means a multi-threading and multitasking. Okay. So how to create a thread? To create a thread within a Java provide two ways. Either we can use a thread class or either we can use runnable interface. So we can create a thread either by extending thread class or implementing runnable interface. Though these both things includes run method that must be override to provide thread implementation. So the good approach is what to use runnable interface instead extended thread class. But here I'm going to show you both things. Okay. So before create a thread class, that means when we are run these Java program, JVM create one thread to start execution the code present in main method. This thread called as a main thread. What it's called? Main thread. The thread is automatically created. That means main thread are automatically created. And you can control it by obtaining a reference to it by calling current thread method. So let's see that things. So here I create thread T. Current thread, and I'm going to print a name of current thread. Instead write these all things. I just want to print that current thread name, right? So I use some optimization, code optimization. current thread name is main. So current thread name is a main. So here JVM create that main thread to execute the content from main method. To start from main method. Okay. So let's see how we can create a thread. So here I'm going to create a thread by extending thread class. But before that, thread have a life cycle, and we are going to discuss that life cycle. In each stage of thread life cycle, thread use some built-in methods. So before that, I create a class. That class name is a my thread. And it extends thread class. It extends a thread class. Now within that my thread class, I create simple constructor. That constructor purpose is what? To setting thread name. So we are going to set a thread name by constructor. Okay, so here we are setting thread name. So using constructor, we are set thread name. After that, when we are use a thread class, that thread class have one method. That method we require to override, and actually that method are performing threading tasks, and that method is run method. So it's at the rate override. Method name is what? It's a public void run method, and that run method actually perform the multi-threading task. So here for demonstrate within that run method, I'm write some statement that's print. We are getting a name. So here I write get name. Get name. It's a return string plus I want to slip it. Or I want to execute task, right? So how many what's the life cycle there? So when your create thread follow a life cycle, and each stage of life cycle have a number of methods, and that method we are going to use here. So what's the thread life cycle then? When you are create any thread, a thread is created but not started. So it's goes to new stage. When a thread has been scheduled and is executing, then it's called running stage. So a thread in a Java goes through multiple states during execution. Each state is managed using various thread method, and that's states are new, runnable, running. So let's see one by one what means a new. thread is created but not started yet. What means runnable? It's ready to run. A thread is ready and waiting for CPU allocation. After that, there are running state. It's like executing. Thread has been scheduled and it's executing. That means running. After that, block waiting state is there. Thread is waiting to acquire resources. After that, terminate thread is there. Terminate state is there. Thread has complete execution or has been stopped, then it will be terminate. So that's the state from thread life cycle. And there are number of methods when we are use that threads, like a start method. Start method is used in runnable state. Run method are used in running state. Sleep method are used in a running state with a time waiting. Yield method is a runnable state, running into runnable. Join method is waiting state. Notify, waiting. Suspend, it's actually suspend nowadays it's a deprecated. We are use interrupt or is alive. The suspend, resume, and stop nowadays are deprecated. We are not use that things. So how we can create? So here I create one class. That class name is that class is my runnable. My thread. It's a extend thread class, and to set a name for that thread, we are use one constructor, that's a my thread. So there are one question: what is the difference between new and runnable? Look here, the new means what? Thread is created but not started yet. And runnable means what? Thread is ready and waiting for CPU allocation. So we are calling some methods. The sleep is what? It's a pause the thread for given time. And what means the suspend? It's pause the thread execution till notify it. So sleep can wake up after that millisecond. But for a suspended thread, we need to resume. We need to resume by using a method. That method is notify or notify all. Yes, runnable thread is started but not running. It's ready and waiting to CPU allocation. That means runnable. And when it's a start to execution, that means it's a running. Okay, let's move. What we are write one class. So within run method, we are write get name. Terminate means what? We are totally remove that thread from memory. That means terminate. But there are not have any terminate method. There are stop methods available to kill our thread. And interrupt method is available to kill our thread. But notify method are resume our thread when that thread is a pause this process. So that's the reason we are not use a terminate. Terminate means what? We are kill our thread. Notify means what? That thread are pause and we need to resume it. That means notify. Is it clear, Tanishq? Okay, so I'm going to write a code. After write a code, you can ask me your questions. Okay, so during writing code, I'm explaining that things what we are write. So here we are write one run method. That run method we are override from thread class, and actually that run method are holding a code for threading purpose. For threading purpose. So here we are get name, and that's the stage we are going to write here. So we can understand what's the stage are going here. So it's a running. So it's a running. So that's a running stage, and it's executing thread task. It's executing task. Okay. After that, within run method, I write one try block, because now whatever things I'm write here, that's a risky code. And that try block catch with the interrupt exception. Interrupted exception. Okay. So within try block, I'm going to write that thread name. So we require that stages every time. So that statement I'm copying. So here I want to make a pause our thread. Hmm? That means its a state is sleeping, right? So it's a sleeping. That means waiting state. And how many time for sleeping? For 2 seconds. Sleeping for 2 seconds. And for that reason, we require to call sleep method, and that method we can call using thread class, because it's a static method. So no need to call by using object. Sleep duration time in a millisecond. So it's 2 seconds, right? So it's 2000. So here we are use a sleep method. After that, now we are going to yielding. So what means yield? It means yielding CPU to another thread. So using that things, we are pause our thread for another thread task. So that's why I'm going to write that's a get name for what? Yield. That's also from waiting state. That's a waiting yielding CPU to another task. Okay, so let's do it. So that things also we can call using thread class because it's a static method. Okay. After that, uh, let's use wait method. That's waiting for a notification. So that's why I create one block here. That block is a synchronized block. So it's a synchronized block. Using this. So here we are waiting thread. So what's the task we need to perform? Waiting. So we are waiting. Okay, we are waiting for notification. Okay, after that, using wait method, we are perform that task. It's 3 seconds. It's a 3 second. Okay, so thread waits for 3 seconds here, and after that, if thread are alive, that means if thread are live, then I'm going to check that things also is thread are live or not. So that's why here I'm going to perform task that is live. It's a return true and false. So method name is alive. Just a minute.
अरे this would
Okay. Okay, so that things I'm right here. Let's summarize these things. We are discuss the thread concept using Java. To create a thread within a Java, we have two ways. One, either you can use a extend a thread class, or either you can implement runnable interface. Both thread class and runnable interface holding one method, that method is run. Within a runnable, it's an abstract method. We need to implement that method. And within a thread, it's a method we need to override. So that run method actually responsible to perform thread task. So whatever multi-threading task you need to perform, you can write within a run method. Here we create my thread class. That my thread class holding one constructor. That constructor name is a my thread. That constructor purpose is what? The purpose is to set a name for our thread. Okay. So using that class, I'm going to demonstrate you how that thread are work and how many methods are there. That methods are useful to perform or manipulate thread operation. That's our aim. So here within a run method, we are first thing is first I'm going to display a thread name. That thread is running. Within a try block, I write a thread, and that thread I want to sleep for 2 seconds. After that, I want to yield a thread. That means what? Current thread are pause, and it will be that memory are transferred to another thread. And once that thread are complete that task, it's returned to our previous thread using yield. So here I'm show you how it's yielding CPU to another thread. After that, I'm use in line number 20, I'm use a one block. That block is a synchronized block. That synchronized block are used to wait a thread for notification. So what is the difference between sleep and wait? When we are use a sleep, we don't require to resume that thread. Once time is end, that thread will be resumed. But when we are use a wait, we required one method to resume that wait. So that's a difference between sleep and wait. But here with wait, we are use one timing. That means before that time, if we are not use any resume method, then after ending this time, our thread will be resume. So that's why we are use that time there. After that, at the end, I check that thread is live or not. For that purpose, we are use is live. What we are use is live method. That method return a boolean value. That method return a boolean value. So if it is a truth, our thread is a live. Otherwise, it's not live. So that simple things I'm right here. Hope you understand. After that, so here instead e print stack trace, I can write thread are interrupted. So here thread was interrupted. Now within main method, I'm going to call that thread. So here within main method, I create object of my thread class. So it's a my thread. Object name is a T1, thread1 equal to new constructor of my thread, and it's holding one name. That's the name are assigned to our thread. It's we can say it's a thread1. We can say it's a thread1. After that, let's get a thread name. So it will be get in automatically because we are write that things within a run. So let's get thread ID. Thread have a ID. Thread have a ID. So every thread have a unique ID. So that things we need to print this out. T1 dot get name ID equal to thread1 dot get ID. Okay, so using get ID, we can get thread ID. So get ID is a deprecated, so I can use thread ID. Thread ID. Okay, so thread ID I'm used here. After that, it is a possible to set priority for our thread. And for that reason, I'm going to use T1 dot set priority. It's a new priority. Priority we can set within an integer number, that's a 0, 5. So there are max priority, there are min priority. So we can use thread max priority 10, min priority is 1, and normal priority is 5. So we can set is a max priority. So we are set priority for execute that thread. After that, it is a possible to get that priority. That's a priority. Okay, so using that things, we are get a current thread priority. After that, it is a possible that you can set a demonstrate. That means if your thread are running backgroundly, then you need to set that thread is a daemon thread. For that purpose, we have one method that's a set daemon, and that's accept boolean value as a parameter, either true or false. Like when JVM collect object garbage collector, then garbage collector is a thread, and that thread execute at the end of our program. So it's a daemon thread. It's running backgroundly. It's have lowest priority. It's have lowest priority. And after that, we are going to start our thread t1 dot start. So when we are start our thread, it goes to running stage. So that's a simple example of thread. I'm going to post that code with you. Okay. So please ask question if you have. There are one question, what is the use of synchronization? Okay. In multi-threading, when multiple threads access shared resources like variables or method, then you must synchronize access to avoid corrupting data. So that's why we are used synchronize. Is it clear what is the synchronize? Why we are used synchronize? Within our code, what's the synchronize? We are use that's a block. That block is a instance block. That block are instance block. So we are synchronize variables here, variables or method and threads to access to avoid corrupting data. So here we are synchronize access to avoid corrupting data. Is any other question? Did you understand the meaning of line number 33 to 36? Here we are synchronize that block, and these block ensure that only one thread at a time can enter the synchronized section on the current object. These it um, and it's holding wait method. This tells the current thread to release the lock and wait up to 3 millisecond, that means 3 seconds, until it's notified by another thread. So that's the meaning of line number 33 to 36. Okay, what's another questions? Okay, most basic question, what is the purpose of multi-threading and why we are used? Once again, I'm already discussed that things with you. Once again, in a concurrent programming, execution happens in two ways. Either it's using process or either it's using threads. Java mainly focus on threads, but process also play an important role. So what means a process? Process runs independently with its own memory and resources. Some applications may actually consist of multiple processes working together. To communicate between process, system use inter-process communication. That's called IPC protocols. It's they are providing methods like pipes and sockets. Java application usually run as a single process, but you can create additional process using process builder. After that, thread. The thread is like lightweight process that runs inside a process. Creating a thread is a faster and uses fewer resources than creating a process. All threads within a process share a memory and files, which is efficient but can lead to synchronization issues. Every Java program starts with one main thread, which can create additional threads as needed. The Java platform supports multi-threading, allowing multiple tasks to run concurrently. That means multi-threading. So I hope you understand what means a process and what means a thread and what means a multi-thread. So multi-threading in Java is a technique that allows multiple tasks, that means thread, to execute concurrently within a single process. And what is the purpose? To improve application performance by utilizing a CPU core efficiently. We are using multi-threading. So using multi-threading, we are use a parallel execution. Thread can run on multiple cores to improve performance. Threads share common memory and resources. And all threads are independent, have an independent execution. That means if one thread are failure, then it's not stop other threads. What is the real-time scenario where we are use that multi-threading? Okay. So do you know graphical user interface? Graphical user interface. Okay. Everyone have an Android program. Everyone aware about Android program. So when we write Android program, actual the logic we are write in a different way, and graphical user interface we are write with a different way. So to make the things present on graphical user interface and to take the input from graphical user interface and pass that input to back code, we required a multi-threading. So it's a better UI responsiveness. So it's essential for GUI based applications. So on GUI based application, we are using multi-threading. Okay, is any other question? Okay, now let's move. How we can create one another thread using runnable interface. So here I'm going to create one class. It's for runnable interface. So it's a class my runnable. It implements runnable interface. Okay. Once it's implement runnable interface, we require to implement abstract method from runnable interface. So here I'm going to implement abstract method from runnable interface. And here I need to identify first current thread. So we are get name from current thread. After that, let's use a yield. That means that all operations which we are perform at my thread class that we are going to perform here. It's not required, but you are understand that things. Okay, so how to create object of my runnable? So here I'm going to create object of my runnable. So thread it's a T2 equal to new thread, and it's a constructor holding new my runnable, and we are passed that name is it's a thread 2. Okay, so that's a thread 2, and thread 2 will be start from using T2 dot start. So here we have one another method, that's a join. So join method are useful to wait to complete another thread task. So it's using try with resource T1 dot join. So it's a complete to T thread 1 task, and after that thread 2 will be joined. We are use a synchronization within our runnable thread. Okay, we are making it simple. So once thread 1 are complete a task, thread 2 will be executed. After that, thread 2 are executed. So students, we are see a most basic example to understand thread. But there are questions in chat box that's from basic threads. Look where we are using multi-threading. I use multi-threading in banking applications. If you are create a game, you are use a multi-threading. If you are create a the text formatter, that means like text writer, like Notepad or any other things, you are going to use multi-threading to perform different tasks simultaneously. So multi-threading is most useful things from Java, and other languages also have a multi-threading. So that's why we are using multi-threading to perform multiple tasks simultaneously within our program. For example, if you're playing game, you have some action button. Hmm? With that action button, it's a play music. If you are hit someone, then it's a performing multi-threading. With action, press key button, its music is on there. So that's a multi-thread. Okay. So what means runnable? Runnable is interface. That runnable interface have one abstract method. That method is run. When any class implements runnable interface, then using that class, it is a possible we can create a thread. So here within a run method, we are write that thread task. It's a simple only message I am printing there. So that thread task I am right there, and that thread task I call within main method to start a thread. So I create an object of thread. First, it's a T2 name. And after that, that T2 I'm start, that means thread I'm start using T2.start. So that's the runnable in short. So here we are use a join method. That join method are wait until first task is complete. After that, it's a join to start to second task. T2 join means what? T2 thread 2 or wait until complete the another thread task, which is currently execution. Is any other question? Okay. So tomorrow we are going to discuss more things regarding multi-threading. So it's not complete yet. So the current code I'm going to share with you. That's the current code. So tomorrow we are going to discuss more things with the multi-threading, and I will try to create one real-time application so you can clearly understand how where we can use a multi-thread and how we can use a multi-thread. But that's a current concept. The multi-threading we are used to perform multiple tasks simultaneously. That thread have their own life cycle. Within that life cycle, we are use multiple methods, and that methods we need to discuss. Today we are discuss some methods from that life cycle and purpose of these methods. So tomorrow we are going to see the real-time application and how we can use a multi-threading within that real-time application. So I'm mostly working with banking applications. So I will create one banking application for multi-threading purpose. So please wait. I'm going to take attendance. Okay, students. So see you tomorrow. Tomorrow we are going to discuss more things regarding multi-threading, and I will try to cover one real-time example to better understand for multi-threading. So thank you very much. See you tomorrow. I'm going to end this meeting here. Yes, there will be exam. No, it's not possible for me. It's maybe it's a practical exam, not a theory. That means written paper is not there. So thank you very much. I'm going to end this session here. See you tomorrow.